Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's Vin PF. On today's episode, we've got something literally brand new. Today, day of release, this is out. Now, I will say at the top of the show, these guys sent this over to me for review, so massive thank you to the guys over at Ardbeg and John Doe Hub for sending this over, because this is the first Ardbeg Committee release that I've ever been able to get hold of. You know, it's one of those ones where I'm really bad at checking my emails every day, and these things tend to swoop in really quickly and be gone like almost instantaneously. And I am not a fan of the secondary market, which we'll get into a little bit later on. I know that a lot of you are into that, so we will touch on it a little bit later on. But yeah, so today we've got the Ardbeg Eureka, which is their new committee release for 2025, but also celebrating 25 years of that said committee. Interesting one, because this one here is actually one of the cheapest ones that I've seen of late anyway. 72 quid this is going to be. If you're a member of the committee, I'm sure you've got an email about it somewhere. I've got no word on how many bottles of this are available, but I imagine probably a fair few, because they're able to send me some this time round. First time they've done that, so yeah, there must be a fair few of this knocking around. So if you're interested, go and check out the committee. There'll be links below and you can go and have a look. But today, let's have a look at this new bottle and see what we think. A few key bits of information then. So I don't have anything about age statement on here, so we're not too concerned about that. It is what it is. Obviously, Eureka. The whole point of this is Bill Lumsden and Gillian MacDonald got their heads together and were like, how can we celebrate 25 years of the committee? And what they've tried to do, one way or another, is pick a flavour profile that will appeal to all, if not most, of the people who are kind of Ardbeg fans, you know. So obviously I'm talking to the smoky fans among you, so if you're not a smoky fan, probably not going to be for you, but you know, if you're watching this, you're probably into your Ardbegs. Same as me, really. Now, what they've done here is they've mixed in PX sherry casks with roasted malt ex-bourbon casks. I'm not really sure about the roasted part of it, but it'll add something to it, I'm sure. You know, I'm not sure how many whiskies out there have this kind of roasted malt vibe going to it, but I'm there for it. Interestingly though, peat and PX is one of my favourite combinations of whiskey flavour right now. That sweet peat combination really gets those endorphins flowing for me, so I'm really interested to see how this bottle goes down and how we get along with it. In any case, yeah, so this one is 52.2%, which is a good ABV. We like that. Not sure if this is cask strength or not. Best thing to do then, really, is just to get straight into it and see what we got. Now, on the label, it says non-chill filter. It doesn't say anything about added colour, so I'm not going to get into that too much, but it looks good nonetheless. Let's get onto the nose then and see what we got. Oh, yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, if you're not a smoky peaty fan, then this isn't for you. This is for me. This is for me and all the other people out there that love their Ardbegs, love their smoke. It's pretty classic, kind of like dying embers of a bonfire. That's how I always like an Ardbeg. It's not that it doesn't breach into that kind of medicinal element of smoke, but it's also not down at that kind of sweet smokiness. It's still earthy and dirty, in a really good way, obviously, but there's that sweetness from the PX that's coming through, which makes it really inviting for me. Very oily and a little bit nutty as well. Let's get onto the palate and see what we got. Alright, I mean, for me, this is everything I love about Ardbeg. It's got all that earthiness, that, you know, tobacco, smoke, wood, yeah, earthy, leafy, all these kind of vegetal notes that you would normally typically get with Ardbeg. The back end has got a bit of brininess to it, which I don't always get on Ardbegs, but I do sometimes. Kind of, you know, that kelpy, seaweedy vibe. There sometimes not, depending on how the rest of the cask influences have come through. The interesting thing is the PX influence isn't actually that strong, so it's not like deep, dark figs, prunes, real heavy sweetness, but what it is a nicely layered, intermingled sweetness that kind of, I don't want to get too pretentious, but it kind of like darts in and out of the smokiness. It isn't like layered like you get the smoke, then you get the sweet. You get a bit of smoke, bit of sweet, a bit of smoke, bit of sweet, all coming in like that, which really brings those kind of like, you know, barbecue-y elements for me anyway, you know, like a real barbecued meat going through it, which I really like. I really love that sort of stuff. I will say the back end tails off a little. It's the finish is mostly kind of peppery, briny smokiness. The sweetness tends to drift off a little bit more at the start, but that's no problem, because really what that's doing is just opening up the typical Ardbeg flavour profiles to you after the sweetness has disappeared off a little bit. But for me, I think I probably would have preferred slightly more PX influence to it, but that's really minor. I'm not complaining about this at all. Really lovely whiskey. One of those ones where, I mean, I'm a big fan of smoky whiskey all year round, but I know exactly the kind of dram that people will like over their winter months, you know, where they kind of get that warming vibe through it, and that's exactly what this is. It's cold here in the UK right now, so perfect time to release something like this to, you know, warm the cockles, so they say. So yeah, really interesting dram. And at 72 quid, I think that's priced pretty good. You know, it's they've been sort of creeping up and up and up. This is sort of coming back down a bit towards the normal end of kind of what I would expect to do. I guess the big issue with these committee releases is that they do tend to end up on secondary market and then go for like massively inflated prices. Now, I'm here to say, I mean, I'm not a big fan of all of that. I don't do secondary market stuff. If I miss it, I miss it, and that's it. Don't be spending loads of money on this. Try and get it if you can, but this one here is not one to be collected or stored or kept hostage in a basement or something like that. Buy it, pop it, enjoy it, share it. I mean, that's all I ever want from whiskey anyway, but I think that's exactly what this one is trying to celebrate. You know, they're self-confessed kind of like into the weird and things like that, and that's all fine, you know, whatever. But for me, it's about quality of whiskey, sharing of whiskey, drinking of whiskey, all that kind of stuff. That's why it's important for me to break this seal here. So yeah, that's my one final kind of APB. I really want everybody who buys this to open it. That's not going to happen. We're going to see it on secondary, but hopefully anyone watching this who's been interested in it will be able to get hold of a bottle if you're part of the committee and whatnot. There you go. But let me know what you think of this below. Are you going to get it? Have you been buying Ardbegs up to this point? Are you going to be carrying on with the committee releases, whatnot? Anything you want to say about this kind of dram, chuck it in the comments below and we'll have a little chat. But in any case, I'll see you again on more reviews soon. Cheers.